East meets West this summer on the Breaking Script podcast with Lala and Nini.
We're finally diving into the captivating, and I mean captivating, maybe low-key addicting realm of Asian dramas before returning to our first love, the highly anticipated countdown to Christmas of Hallmark movies.
So come along as we look for the glimmers and more in Asian pop culture storytelling. Welcome back. I'm Lala, a non-French speaking French Canadian.
And I'm Nini, a first-generation ABC, that's American-born Chinese, that speaks broken Chinglish.
And if you're new to the Breaking Script podcast, we are sister-in-laws and mental health advocates on a mission to spread joy and glimmers, the opposite of triggers, while offering ways to stretch your windows of tolerance through watching Hallmark movies and finally, as of today, Asian dramas.
Well, we're easing into Asian dramas. I forgot to change that. We're doing Super Rich in Korea first, but we're still going to have the 4 unique segments that give you a guide to review, or what we like to call break script, with the healthy and unhealthy romantic and family relationships. Can't wait to talk about those, as well as I have a disclaimer for this. Healthy and unhealthy behaviors. Usually it's about Hallmark movies, but finally we're into Asian drama, Asian shows are upon us, and we will still have our boba ratings and the same 4 breaking script segments with some trauma-informed neuroscience and polyvagal theory sprinkled in. And that way it magically turns your Hallmark movie and Asian drama watching experience into a more meaningful self-care session.
Exciting.
We have some housekeeping. First of all, happy AAPI month. Also, it happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month also, which I feel
Oh,
like is
wow.
really appropriate. Is that an American thing, or is that also a Canadian thing?
Ooh, I do not know. I should know this.
No,
I think it might be a worldwide thing.
I don't know, because I was wondering, why is May AAPI month? Do you know this? So this is American. It's because there were 2 significant events for the US of A. The first Japanese immigrants arrived to the US in May of 1843.
Wow.
So those were the first Asians to arrive.
Okay.
And then on May 19th of 1869, the final spike for the Transcontinental Railroad track, in which Chinese laborers played a crucial role, was embedded. And I know this because I don't know how I became aware that in 2019 it was the 150th anniversary, and I had given some people like golden railroad spikes as like this meaningful gift or something, and afterwards I
Mm.
found out that that was the year that they retook a picture of families of railroad workers for the Transcontinental Railroad that put that golden spike, it's actually in Utah, that connected, because that's how the railroad was built in the US, was from east to west and west to east. And then in the
Mm.
middle is this golden railroad spike. I know you guys wanted to know this riveting information, but in the original picture where they put in the golden railroad spike, because there's a picture from 1869,
Mhm.
there are no Chinese laborers included. So on the
Wow.
150th anniversary, it was like a week-long event in Utah. I low-key was really curious and wanted to go. They included the families. Obviously, those originals have passed on, but they included their families in that picture. They
Wow.
retook the picture with the Golden Railroad spike. So
Wow,
anyway,
that's amazing.
so happy API month. Hopefully it makes it more meaningful for you, but also I have to tell you, we haven't had a chance to discuss this yet. I just texted you. It's also Happy Mother's Day week. Do you know what I gave myself for Mother's Day?
What? What did you do?
I gifted myself a month's subscription of Max, which was, HBO Max. Actually, it
Yes.
was like for my son because he wanted to have kids come over to watch Dune 2, but we haven't watched Dune yet. So like I needed to get it so we could watch Dune. But it was mostly because I haven't seen season 2 of The Vow.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe. Okay, that makes sense. I thought you had seen it,
No, and it was the most healing. Okay, I
right?
have to say
So
this. If
good.
you're going to watch Mother God, follow it up by The Vow afterwards. Because
Yeah,
after going through that
Mother
mess, I was
God
like,
leaves you feeling kind of icky, I think.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
really
did.
disorienting and like
Yes.
yuck and
Mhm.
just, ooh. And so following that by the way, if you're not familiar, what we're talking about is cult and true crime documentaries. The Vow is about the Nexium cult. Mother God is like I guess you would call it a new age cult,
Yeah, I think
right? But
so.
it's not like, it's not, there are more normal new age, if we could call it that. I don't know what the proper term. I hope I didn't offend anybody. But anyways, um, the second season of The Vow, I think for me, watching Nancy's journey was the most powerful
Right?
thing that they could have. It was so healing. And
Mhm.
I wanna, this is how I'm gonna bring Hallmark into this. You like this? This is my
Yeah.
this is my gift of connecting the dots. So after watching that on Mother's Day, even when Calls the Heart was around the topic of covert abuse. Can you believe it? Like,
Whoa.
I almost low key want to do an episode with Nana. Just, I don't know that we'll ever cover When Calls the Heart on this podcast, but
Right?
that episode, spoiler alert now, if you want to turn it off, you haven't seen it yet. The most recent episode of When Calls the Heart, I believe it was episode 6. The main character, Elizabeth, who is a school teacher, had been pressured by a someone in authority over her, like a superintendent of a school, to be in relationship with him in order to further her career. And she kept
Oh.
rejecting him. And so you could see it. They did such a great job. They even had lines of this. Okay, this is what Elizabeth says. These are
Mhm.
quotes from the show. She says, because you can see her become like really helpless and powerless.
Mhm.
And so she says, "This is what he does. He makes you doubt yourself so much, you're not sure what actually happened."
Whoa.
And having those words spoken after having watched Nancy's journey on the second season of The Vow and her just like blubbering, crying at the end after the
Mhm.
sentencing of like her making sense of it. It was so
Mhm.
powerful and so vulnerable to watch that journey. But I was like, oh my gosh, Elizabeth and When Calls the Heart. That's some great words. Um, she also says, I feel so helpless. And her friend, played by Pascal Hutton, Rosemary, who's like usually this really eccentric, boisterous, like exaggerated character. It was so beautiful. It was such a gentle, real, like this is the type of friend people need when they're going through covert
Mm.
abuse. So Rosemary tells Elizabeth, you are not helpless. You are strong,
Mm.
resilient, and resourceful, and you know how to manage a heel like him. And I was like, oh my goodness, if that's
Wow.
you today, take those words for yourself. It was that made Mother's Day for me. Obviously my children really made Mother's Day for me,
Right?
just having my children all under one roof, but having it was amazing.
Mm.
Anyway, that's my connecting The Vow and the cult with Hallmark. I'll stop it at that because I know you guys are chomping at the bit. We have to get to Super Rich in Korea.
Yay.
How excited are we? Question, we haven't had a chance to talk about this.
Okay.
Did you binge all of them or did you only watch 2 episodes?
I only watched 2 episodes.
I'm so proud of you. So now I have to, I couldn't help
Only
myself.
because okay, I've learned my lesson from when we rewatched The Way Home season 1,
Yeah.
and I think my fresh perspective, I need my fresh perspective. I have too
Yeah.
much thinking and like going on when I watch it, and then I go back and rewatch it,
That
and
makes
I lose
sense.
some of that like initial gut
Excitement.
feeling, yeah, and
Yeah.
excitement. So I also, my husband is away and I feel like he would like this. So
So you're
I
waiting.
didn't, yeah, I
Oh.
didn't want to like get too far into it
Yeah.
without him because I watched the first 2 episodes without him. And again, it's not a this is not a background show. Even though there's a bit of
No.
English in there, you
Yeah.
definitely have to like be paying attention.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we're starting with this because it does take more brain capacity to have to read subtitles.
yes, which I think is helpful because that caused me also not to binge watch it because right,
Oh.
like because usually like when I watch something I like to do other things, and then what happens is
Right.
I subconsciously just start tuning it out. So this
Right.
is like, laser focus.
100, which is nice that the episodes are shorter.
Exactly.
It kind of flies by. But for me, I think maybe I don't tune it out as much as you because I pick up words. I know some Korean words
True.
because they're
True.
similar to Taiwanese words. So we have no audio spa summary today, but we still want to give you a recap so that you know what we're talking about. So I'm going to be reading off the Super Rich in Korea Netflix page. Thank you, Netflix, for providing this. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Super Rich in Korea offers a golden ticket into the extravagant world of Seoul's top 1%. Individuals who've made this city, their second home due to their love for K culture. So to be clear, they're not all Korean in ethnicity. The character teaser introduces viewers to 5 ultra-wealthy individuals starring in the reality series whose lavish lifestyles can leave anyone's jaw on the floor. First up is Yoo Hee-ra. That is her Korean name, but often in the show she goes by her English name, which is Aren Yoo. She is Korea's sole client ambassador for luxury brands, with an entire 100 square meters dedicated to her wardrobe only. She shared her fashion philosophy with endearing honesty. Then there's super influencer Noor Naem, whose love for bags and infectious energy has won her over 50 million followers on social media. She's a top social media influencer in the Middle East. Then there's Kim Anna, which they flipped the last name and first name. So if in English, she would say her name is Anna Kim. She's a noblewoman from Pakistan. She's her life that keep hosts Sae-ho, BamBam, and Mimi in constant awe. We'll talk about who they are. And adding a dash of humor alongside the lavish lifestyles are Singaporean business tycoon David Yong, known for his straightforward nature, and Teodoro Marani, an Italian romantic who moved to Korea after leaving his family's luxury brand business. These contrasting personas in Korean blind dating, with the former being clueless and the latter a natural flirt, have the hosts alternating between laughter and sympathy, leaving viewers eager to discover how these affluent men fare in the dating scene. Oh my goodness, you didn't get to those in the first 2 episodes, Lala. I can't wait for
No,
you to watch
I'm
those.
excited.
So, Super Rich in Korea isn't just about opulence, it also captures the daily lives of these elites, their passions, why they've chosen Korea as their second home, zooming into their deep appreciation for Seoul. The production team gives insight into their casting process, sharing that this was the most time-consuming and challenging aspect of developing the reality series, which I feel like they did a great job casting. Each
Seriously.
cast member has a unique story, so let's review. First is David Yong. They said he impressed them with his journey of setting aside his millionaire status to invest in K-pop, all down to his charm. Aren Yu, her determination to forge her own path is truly inspiring in fashion. And then there's Teo, the Italian, who chose to live in Korea despite having a secure future back home. And then Anna, a workaholic, Anna Kim, who is Pakistani, who embraces her Korean identity despite coming from a noble family in another country. And of course, Noor Naeem, the self-made queen of the Arabic beauty industry. I cannot wait to dive into this even more. But Lala, why don't you go ahead?
Yes.
We're only covering 2 episodes today.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what we're going to cover in each episode.
Okay, so today's episode are the lifestyle of the super rich and a house worth billions. No big deal. So for the lifestyle of the super rich, Erin Yu flaunts her 5-story mansion and one-of-a-kind couture pieces, while David Yong reveals his luxury home in Seoul's tallest building. Should add, and we meet Erin's friend Noor. Oh, the top content creator of the Middle East and David's friend Teo, son of the founder of Italy's luxury fashion brand Harry Beglin. How do you say it again?
Henry Beglin. So
Beglin. Okay.
clearly that's not a brand that you're familiar with.
No, I'm not. A house worth billions. A house worth 16 billion won. David's black card is primed and ready. In Pakistan, Anna Kim, gives a tour of her opulent houses complete with baby tigers.
Okay,
US.
guys. We're still going to do the ratings. Go ahead, Lala.
Okay, so I am rating it collectively, or do you want each episode to have a different rating?
Yeah, so guys, we're not doing the breakdown of the 4 different types of ratings that we
No.
usually do for Hallmark. You can decide right now on the spot.
Okay, well, I personally, I'm just gonna say, you know what? They're both a 7. And here's the thing.
Oh, okay.
I really liked this. Is that high or low to you?
I don't know. Is this like regular TV scale or is this Hallmark scale?
No, this is regular TV, and the
Yeah.
reason why it's a 7, okay,
Okay.
and guys, background is I am a reality TV lover. I watch all the Real
Yes.
Housewives, all the 90 Days, like, what was the other Netflix one? Um, Bling Empire, like,
Yes.
love
Singles
these.
Inferno.
Singles Inferno. So it is a 7 because really we're just being introduced to the characters. Not much happens.
Yeah, it's true.
There is really not a lot. And even there isn't, you can ask my husband, one of my favorite parts of any episode is the
Mhm.
next time on, and then they tell you what's happening next
And they
time
don't
because
do it.
this show doesn't do it. So I don't know if this, or they'll do this season on, and you kind of get this
Yeah.
idea of what the season's going to be about. I have no idea what's happening in this show, except for the fact that they're super rich,
Yeah,
lots of designers.
right.
But is there drama? Is there fighting? Is there just friendship? Is it all just like
Mm,
rainbows and butterflies? Like
yeah.
what can we
What's the
expect?
plot? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's hard for me. This is gonna be interesting because you haven't binged. That's why it's so easily bingeable because there wasn't a lot in the first
Right?
two. And so then I
Mm-hmm.
just kept going. And I also low-key was like, is this worth doing? But I think it is. I think you guys are really gonna love it. Because you do see it in episode 2. You guys have heard Lala's husband. If you've followed along, you know that Lala's husband, my brother, and I grew up going to open houses every Sunday. So we love looking at houses,
Yeah.
especially more affluent houses. Like,
Yeah.
we love it. And that's like the bulk of,
Of the
even if they're not looking for real estate or shopping for homes, you're looking at everyone's homes because we're all curious. What does the super rich top 1% look like? So let's just go ahead. We're still going to do the breakdown. So let's start our breaking script segments. Our first to 4 is I. What's love got to do with it? Here we're still going to discuss glimmers and what we love, breaking down the romantic and family relationships. What do you
mm.
got?
Well, I have to say I loved all the, I don't want to call them characters, all the people that we were introduced. Like that hooked me. Everybody has an
Yes.
interesting storyline, everybody has an interesting
Yes.
background. I actually love how Noor and Anna Kim, or Kim Anna,
Yes.
Anna Kim,
Yeah.
were not born in Korea, but
I
lived
know.
like Anna Kim, that it's amazing to, she's from Pakistan, but she grew up in Korea and has adapted Korean culture and is a Korean citizen. Like I
Yeah.
actually love, and the Italian, like I think it's so interesting to see that perspective. And then actually,
Absolutely.
are any of them, like they're all also from somewhere else, right?
Well,
Because David's
yeah,
from
except
Singapore.
right. Yeah. So the only one who's Korean is Aaron Yu.
Aren, but she went to Cornell and like grew up in America.
Yeah, but that's very common for I don't know if you heard the word. They only mentioned it once, but remember I was telling you when we were deciding like what Asian dramas to watch, I was like the first
Yeah.
one we should watch is about chaebols, which is chaebol is like kids that come from like really wealthy families. So even though you're a Korean national, like you grew up, you're born in Korea, it's very common for you to go to university out of the country or to even
Mm.
like live sometimes either in the States or Canada or
Hmm.
Australia, actually.
Yeah.
So or the UK. Um, so it's very common, especially amongst those that have, the funds to do so. So
Hmm.
I agree. And we'll tell you a little bit more about each character as we go through the glimmers because and so the reason why like when it's written you see Kim Anna is because when we introduce ourselves and we say our names in Asian cultures, we say our last name first, always.
Mm.
Because and that's like gives you the difference in culture of like that's why family is so important and that's why um Asian families usually want a son because the
Mm.
son carries the family name. So like in Taiwan, on your ID card,
Hmm.
when your child's born, they're added to a family registry. It's part on your ID card, like
Wow.
what family you're a part of.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So like if you were to get citizenship in Taiwan, you would be on our family's registry.
Wow. That's so cool.
So it's very tied to like
Yes.
even
Your
more
family
tied to
tree.
who you are. But what I love about Anna Kim, I love so much. She and her husband are like hu probably the biggest glimmer and, like, joy for me, like, their story,
Mm.
their family relationships. I love that when you watch Anna Kim and her brother,
Yeah.
um, if you close your eyes, you cannot tell that they're not Korean in ethnicity.
Mm.
Because 'Cause I've watched enough Asian dramas and I have Korean friends to know, like, it they're I mean, obviously, they grew up there, but the fact that they loved it so much that they choose that is huge.
Yeah.
And the fact that I love when they're talking about their romantic relationship between Anna and her husband, and I'm so sorry I cannot pronounce his name.
Mm.
There was, like, 6 names in his name.
Yes, he did
I
have a
think
long name.
the first one was Malik, I don't know if that's the right way to say it or anyway, Malik, anyway, the fact that when she first met him, she didn't know he was noble or from a wealthy
Ri
family, and
Oh,
she said that she was
she
gonna
could
take care of
t
him, and
yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you clearly don't know who I am," and
That was
the fact that
funny.
they seem I mean, obviously, this is a show, it could be edited in a certain way, they could be putting
Yeah.
on a front, but as far as what they're showing on this show, they seem, like, super loving, the fact that, granted, she had to, like, go to a different house to visit her husband,
Mhm.
but the fact that he made her favorite food,
I know.
and
I
how much they
know.
love food, and out of all the houses, obviously, theirs is the most opulent, and,
Yeah.
like, the difference, the dichotomy of, like, seeing how much, like, m millions or billions of dollars get you in Korea to, like, in Pakistan, they
I
have, like
know.
she's like, "We have so many houses, I haven't even seen them all." And
I
then
know.
do you okay, I had to do some research. I had to write this down. Do you understand how huge their house is?
No.
So, that first house that they go
Yeah.
to where she's showing her brother around, she says
Yeah.
it's 1,000 pyong. 1,000 pyong is how they that's, like, instead of square footage or do you
Okay.
guys do square meters in Canada or is it square
We do
footage?
square feet.
Ugh, so confusing. Anyways, 1,000 pyong is 35,583 square feet.
Holy cow!
Round up, round down, it doesn't make a difference. 35 to
Oh my
36,000 square feet.
goodness.
They've got security guards, living rooms with different purposes, velvet ceilings, the 99 names of Allah in Arabic that are took 6 months to hand paint on a ceiling. Like, I love that her and her brother's, like, their Korean house, which of a wealthy family's Korean
Right?
house, is only one small room in this manner. And I love it brought me so much joy that she's showing her brother the house, and she pulls out instant this opulent house serves instant coffee and
Yeah.
ramen
Ramen?
in Pakistan, like, they're so wealthy, but her husband says, "The taste is so nice, we can't help ourselves." Like, it brought me so much joy.
I know. It was so incredible seeing
Right?
that house. I mean, even Aaron's house too, like the 5 stories,
That's really
unreal.
impressive. That's really impressive for
That
Korea, like
everyone in her family has a floor.
I know, I love that she has the first floor.
I know.
And the fact that, okay, let's talk about this. You have this fashion icon client ambassador, and she has to emphasize how there's only one client ambassador per country, right? And
Mhm.
Koreans didn't usually get front row seats in these fashion shows, but she did.
Mhm.
She's got haute couture all day, every day.
Yeah.
But when she shows you her living room, it's full of stuffed animals, like, there's no
I
room
know.
on the couch. The
I know.
couch is just stuffed animals, the same one of every size.
I know.
Can I just say, Asians love their stuffed animals, like, if you see, like, a true Asian, they will have stuffed animals in their cars, and I have a confession. After I, got divorced, I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, what's wrong with me?" I started real my bed is full of squishmallows.
Really?
But they're legit. They're the best pillows. They're
Oh,
better than
yes.
regular pillows.
Yeah,
That's
I believe
my
that.
defense. And how I justify, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's like in my blood. It just happens. Like
You can't,
I'm
don't fight
just
it.
I'm
Don't
just
fight
that
it.
Asian. What
That's
else did you love
hilarious.
about her house though? Because I love that she has her purses organized by brands and that the boxes that her like
Mm.
um purses come in are organized by color and size. Like she has pyramids of these boxes by color and
Okay.
size.
I have
That
to
brought me
admit though,
joy.
it actually was overwhelming to me. Like I think what ended up like I was looking at it and I really did feel like I never want to have that many
Yeah.
things. I
Yeah,
actually
I
kind of
agree.
felt the opposite of like not as impressed and just like
It's too
I
much.
it's too much.
It's too
Like I
I just
felt
like
it
the
was too
organization.
much.
I didn't like the stuff. Because I'm not you're more into fashion
You
than
know
I
what? But
am.
I don't like things it should be I don't like things on the counter. And I was like, get rid of the box. Like the Cartier boxes, I get because Cartier boxes, they're the red leather, but the Hermes box, I don't know. I
I
don't
was
know.
curious, like, is this clutter or is this art? I was
I
confused. Like,
think to
did you do
her,
it on
it's art. I think to her,
okay,
it's art.
it was
To someone
decor?
else,
Okay.
it's clutter. To
Well,
me,
okay.
clutter.
Yes. Okay, you're right. This maybe covers both. You're right, because at first to me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is she just Asian and keeping boxes and bags, and this is like the couture version?"
Mm,
That was my first response, but then I was like, "But they're organized by color." Like my books on my bookshelf are organized by color.
mm.
Um, so anyways, but I love the MC's responses to those.
Yeah.
Um, anything else that you have here?
Um, no. I mean, I do I really like is it Teo?
Mhm.
I think he's kind of funny. Oh,
He's
so is
he's
David. But David's funny in a different way.
100%.
Anyways,
I
that was those are all my glimmers.
I had so many glimmers. It brings me so much joy. We have to introduce. Okay, so you guys, we told you you guys know the five super rich, but we didn't talk about the MCs.
Mm,
So I feel like in these shows, the MCs make the show. Like, would you agree? Like, without the MCs, this wouldn't be as interesting of a reality show. It's actually the commentary from the MCs that bring
yes.
in the comedic factor and it helps you to
Yes.
like debrief on like what you're actually seeing.
Exactly.
So Sae-ho, the guy that sits in the middle, and I also love that they're in thrones. I thought that was hilarious. That's a touch of just like because this is super rich in Korea. I love their set. Like how much South Korea puts into their K-pop and K-dramas is more than any
Mm,
other country.
yes.
But Cho Seo is a South Korean comedian. If you Google him, they're just making a big deal about how he's marrying a non-celebrity girlfriend that's 9 years younger than him. That's just like that's the news on him. Bam Bam is actually from Thailand, but he's been in Korea
Oh,
so long. Yeah, he's a part of a K-pop group called GOT7.
okay.
And he's a rapper in that group, so he's like pretty popular. Like there'll be certain groups that have like guys that are more popular than others. Bam Bam's really popular.
Mm.
Um, then Mimi
Mm-hmm.
is in a K-pop girl group called Oh My Girl, and in that group, like there's a lot of singers, but she's the rapper. She's like
Oh.
the main. She's the only like. So yeah, she has a different like vibe to her. Um, Like, I don't know if you noticed, but one of my glimmers was watching, and it might not be a glimmer for you. Like, I think for some people it'd be like, why is Aren so fake? To me, it's a glimmer because it's not fake. You know how like Aren talks different? Did you notice during interviews? Is
Yes.
this in the next segment for you? Because it's a glimmer for me. Go ahead.
Well,
What do you want to
I
say
don't
about
think it's
that?
a negative. I'm just like when she speaks Korean, her voice is
Mhm.
in a higher register, and when she
Yeah,
speaks English, it's so much lower.
I know. I I don't know why we do I do that. Like When I
Because
call my
her voice is
cousins,
raspy. It's like she has
I
a raspy American English voice. And then in Korean, it's so sweet and dainty and
I
high.
know, but I think you can't tell, but her Korean isn't as good as like even Anna Kim. So she's more
Mm,
comfortable speaking in English than she is in Korean.
right.
And she even says that. But so for me, like I don't know if it's because we get more shy when we're not as confident.
Mm.
Like we can carry on a conversation, but like when I call my cousins and be like my voice does that too, like, "Ichira, like I don't know why it goes so high." Like it's really weird. It's subconscious. It's not an
Right?
intentional, but it's like when you're I don't know. Anyway, it's normal. It's very familiar to me. Um and I just love I don't know. There's so much I love. Like I love watching especially the comedian Joseo when he's like trying to pronounce English words.
I
Like
know.
when he was trying to pronounce hot couture, it was like
Well,
Ote Kuturu. Like I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love it so much. And
That's
he's like laughing.
hilarious.
And then also when they were talking about um when Aren was showing I think it was Noor, she was showing her the Fendi Tiffany baguette, like that
Yes.
collab between Fendi and Tiffany. I love Tiffany's because I grew up loving breakfast at Tiffany's.
Mm.
Um, and I also grew up in New York. But anyways, I love that Mr. Comedian could only think of bread. He's like, a baguette. Isn't a baguette
Baguette?
bread? I was like, yes. It's stuff like this. It brings me so much joy. I feel like I goofy smile,
Yes, during it.
literally
Yeah.
LOL, like laugh out loud. Like, like when you saw David, Yong, like they saw a private jet and they're like, oh, this is a new level. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it rhymes. I need to ask a Korean friend, like, if, the comedian was like, he has a private jet. All I have is private debt. And I was like, hey, that rhymes in English. It probably rhymes in Korean too. That's how they do. They have like clever sayings and like wise sayings that
Mm.
rhyme. Anyway, we didn't even talk about Teo. I love that Teo is Italian but
Mm-hmm.
speaks Korean. And he actually
Ah.
speaks really it's not as fluent as Anna Kim, but his Korean is pretty good.
Mm. For only
Um,
being there for 3 years too.
uh-huh, yeah. And I have a question for you.
Okay.
When did you find out about the black card? The American Express black card?
Mm. That is a good question. I mean, I feel like it's almost like a colloquialism, right? Like people just talk about it as like the unlimited amount of funds.
Yeah,
So
because it's
maybe
not,
high
it didn't
school?
always exist.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like it's I feel like I've always kind of known about it, like the joke of like, oh, I have a
Interesting.
black card, like when you're in high school. No?
Oh, like you grew up around a different crowd because I don't feel like that's something like everyone just knows about. So
I
I
think
looked it up,
yeah.
the origin of the black card. It didn't exist until 1999.
Oh,
And it was
interesting.
because of a comment that Jerry Seinfeld made on the show. And so he called American Express, was like, is this a thing? Do you guys have an unlimited card? And then they made one and gave him the first one.
Whoa.
That's the legend anyway. But there's people
Dang.
that tried to like confirm it. So those are, I love that they talk about the black card and that this
Hmm.
Joker, I can't tell if David Yong is like trying to play into a persona and a character or not. Like the fact that he's pulling out a black card to buy a house is like
Yeah.
hilarious.
He seems like a character.
100%. But like, did somebody tell him to do that? Is he doing that on purpose? Anyways,
Mm,
let's just move into our second segment. Are you ready?
yes.
We're still gonna do that. Yeah. Don't go chasing waterfalls where we talk about unhealthy behaviors and coping mechanisms, but I have a huge disclaimer here. I will be so careful. I don't know that I ever would on a reality TV show unless it's like, I don't know. I don't know that I can pull out the Omo Omo Nardar
Mm,
because there's a very big difference between unhealthy behaviors and then toxic and destructive behaviors. And I think that as a
ooh.
society that we need to get, obviously, with all these true crime documentaries, Quiet on Set, The Program, The Vow, like you name it. We need to get better at um, identifying covert, toxic, destructive
Yeah.
behavior, and the differences between unhealthy and toxic are huge. You handle them differently.
Hmm.
But these are real people. So I will not be commenting the same that I do on regular. I was so hesitant to do a reality show.
Mhm.
Um, and we only are seeing a snapshot of what editors want us to see. So they can edit a person
Totally.
purposely to make them look like a narcissist when they're not. So I just had to put
Yes.
that out there.
And we are not, I don't know who the executive producers are, but we know like from other shows like Laguna Beach, The Hills, even Selling Sunset, like Adam
Yes,
DeVello is known for reality, but it's scripted reality. So we're also not
exactly.
100% sure at the moment how produced this
Yes,
is or this isn't, right? So we have to take that for with a grain of salt. And yeah, like never want to
exactly.
like jump to any conclusions, but I think we can speak to things that we observe.
100%. I also think that it's important that I think we muddy the waters of clarity and like awareness and education when we don't treat celebrities as if they're human. Like
Yeah,
these people are on TV, they're human, or like that's what
exactly.
happens in churches and ministries and schools. Like when that person in authority, you're not treating them as human, whether it's positive or negative.
Hmm.
That makes this whole dynamic of identifying destructive, toxic, like narcissistic or sociopathic behavior
Yeah.
when we really need to be able to identify it. So, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's kick us off. You sounds like you have some content here.
For don't go chasing waterfalls.
Mhm.
Unhealthy patterns of behavior. Well, okay.
Mhm.
There is just and I feel like maybe over the years my perspective has changed over like consumerism and things like that. And so I it just is overwhelming seeing the amount of stuff. And
Yeah,
sometimes I mean I feel like you get into the habit of like more things, like it's just never satisfies.
yeah,
And I'm sure there's an element of that. I'm sure that there's also this element of like a like like Aren probably has this incredible appreciation for
yeah.
fashion as art that I
Mhm,
don't necessarily have. Um
mhm.
and even Noor loves bags. I'm also like a bag person. Like I will admit I have a Fendi baguette. It's my I love her. She's my going out. Like I
I
don't
love
bring her
her.
out
Uh-huh.
all the time. I just got a Loewe bag. I like Spanish Spanish fashion house. Like it's it's a kind of a if you know, you know. Um
Mm,
I appreciate those things, but like I think as I get older, I don't want to like be all about
yeah,
materialism and I don't want to have so much stuff. Like I want to get rid of stuff. I
sure.
don't think we could necessarily say that's unhealthy patterns because some
We don't,
people love
yeah,
shoes, some people love bed. Like
yeah,
everyone is allowed to have their
yeah.
thing. And with that level of wealth, I mean, it's just not
No, you can't compare it
you can't
because
compare my life to that, right? Like that's
100%.
their that could what they're spending on bags like is nowhere you couldn't even compare it to what I spend. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you get it.
I do. It's for them, their Chanel and Louis are like us going to Target or Walmart.
Thank
It's
you.
that
That's
ratio. So like we can't
yes.
judge because we've never
No.
been in that position. And also, I
No.
want to say this is why I love Asian content because given my disclaimer, in another scenario, I feel like there could be a lot of critique for David Yong and his demeanor and his attitude and
Totally.
flauntiness.
Hmm.
But these MCs are so kind. There might be some passive stuff thrown in, but for the most part, they're like they're I don't know, they're just so gentle and kind. Especially as the episodes continue, you'll see. But David actually says like he loves shopping because shopping is investment at that level.
It is. And I will
Apparent,
say
yeah,
bags hold their value. Like
yeah,
and I believe this and I've seen it. I have, I'm not I have quite a few bags. Um and their value sometimes increases because if a
yeah,
bag no longer gets made
right.
and that it
It's
becomes a collector's item.
totally. So it's at a certain value. So that's what they're purchasing. So you're like, well, in that case, you're all just business and everything you're buying is making
And
money. And
I mean,
also with Go
he
ahead.
has Birkins. Birkins, like, I don't know if you understand, like, you cannot go into a store and buy a
No.
Birkin.
Yes,
They
exactly.
contact you. So the fact that he has so like, you literally, you cannot, like, you have to be on the list. They reach out to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And if there's a wish list item. Anyway, so like, and those really are investment pieces because there are
Totally.
so few ever made. And sometimes they come out with like one of a kind. And those can be like upwards hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. So
Yeah.
I understand it from that perspective and totally buy into that. But
Like,
I don't
yes,
think you'll see
that's
me with a Birkin anytime soon.
I actually first, so just so you know where I come from, I did not own a single, um, like, I'm sure my brothers explained this to you, like, we didn't have brand name anything
Mm,
until he got into high school. My mom actually explained it as, like, we never felt like we were lacking. The way that
mm,
she always put it to us was like, "We're wise in our choices. We're not just gonna pay for a name. We're gonna
yeah.
buy quality." Um, so I was never in the world. I don't know how I would have had access to even know that Birkin bags were in existence. Do you know when I first learned that Birkin bags were a thing?
When?
Guess. What show would I have watched that introduced me to Birkin bags?
Um, Not Gilmore Girls.
Yes,
Really?
Gilmore Girls. That was my first time learning, I'm pretty sure, learning what a Birkin bag was. Is that crazy?
So funny. That's so funny.
Anyways, um, but yeah, I love that, I love that Aren doesn't like Birkin bags. She's like, they're too heavy.
Yeah, I did think it was
It just
interesting that
shows
she,
you who she is. Like,
yes.
she loves the art and she loves, you're gonna see me do this a lot. This is my personality and who I am. I'm gonna explain away their flaws to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're celebrities and we're only seeing a snapshot of them. So even if I talk here, you're gonna see me like explain everything away. Um, no, I think she has a passion. Like she wants to make a difference. Like she has
Yeah.
meaning and a purpose in the fashion world. And listen, and but I'm also curious, like she's so into fashion, but is it her parents that's making her take hotel management at Cornell? Like,
I was thinking that because I felt like there was a disconnect. Like in some ways, why wouldn't you take business and then like enter like work for the fashion industry?
it must be a family thing. Well, I'll research that for next week. Like her
Or
family
even
must
go to
be in.
FITM, right? Fashion merchandising. Like she could work for a fashion house. Like if she's already a brand ambassador, like I'm sure she could end up working
I think it's a
for,
family thing.
it must be.
There's just no
Anyways,
way.
I don't have anything really unhealthy or patterns of behavior. For me, episode 2, we're really not getting into the weeds with that stuff, so it's all
Mm-mm.
very like surfacey.
No. Well, let's move on then to Aigu. Away with the poodles already. Usually in Hallmark movies, we talk about plot holes and continuity issues. Obviously, hopefully won't have that here. It's a reality show. But it'll be the wait what's and what we didn't like.
I have two things here. Okay, so my
Okay.
first one, and this is what we'll discover more. I'm wondering how much of everyone is self-produced and like if these
Mm.
friendships are real outside. Like I know there's probably like they know each other, but how deep are these
Hmm.
friendships outside of the show?
Right.
David, to me, feels a little self-produced, like he's kind of putting it on for the camera, but
Hmm.
we'll see. The
Yeah.
second thing is Anna Kim's Tigers. It's giving me Tiger King vibes. And
Oh my
I'm just I
gosh.
think because like okay, if I had never watched Tiger King, I probably would have no problem, but now there's this awareness of like animals need to live in the wild and they will kill you. I'm just like
Yeah.
really like it
It's
just I don't know.
Jasmine.
Oh, that is so true. I was just like, no, not tigers. They're so not
That's so
tigers and
funny.
lions, but
Oh
I
my
get it.
gosh.
It's a symbol of wealth. There, they said like
Yeah.
to have exotic animals. I mean, I'm no animal activist, but I don't know how I feel about that. Gave me a little Tiger King vibes. But again, I'm interested to see how the friendships unfold if they are real, authentic outside of the show, and how
Yeah.
much these people are putting it on for the camera, self-produced, etc.
Totally. That's what I'm wondering about David Young. Like, I wonder if in his contract he was like, I'm gonna be this persona. So like
Yes.
that's why he introduced himself and said, like, I'm, top 1% super
1%.
rich. Nobody else introduced themselves like that. Like, I wonder if that's part of his contract. Like,
And
that's
the
who
black
you're gonna
card.
be.
I mean, flashing the black card,
Yeah.
like that's a
Yeah.
there's like I mean, there's probably a list, kind of like in Canada, we have something called a sun or Ontario Sunshine List, and it's
Yeah.
all the government, the people that work for the government that make
Yeah.
over $100,000 a year. It's called the Sunshine List or something.
Oh,
It has to
interesting.
be posted. Anyways, I feel like there has to be, not really, but something like that where it's like
The black
only
card
X,
list.
there's only a handful of people on that black card list.
That's so funny. Oh, but he's hilarious. Like,
He is. I really like him, but I'm
he
like,
has a
is
money
this really
counter in his
you?
living room, like, but he remembers what everything costs. I was like, wow, that's like really impressive. I have to say this. No one corrected Noor, like none of the MCs. I don't know if they were just being polite or what, but she brought toilet paper as a gift to Aaron Yu.
Oh, yeah.
Usually you have to bring something like fruit or ginseng, usually. Toilet paper is a housewarming gift, like if they just moved into the house. But it didn't look like that was a new home.
No. No,
Like they've been there
it
for a
looked
while. Like she took over her sister's room because her sister's no longer living there. Like
right.
nobody corrected her. Anyways,
Hmm.
that can happen to you sometimes. There's all these unspoken rules and you're trying to do research to stay on top of it, but then no one will correct you. I'm sorry. That is something that we do. Because we're trying, it's polite, but not. They still call the biggest bedroom in the house master bedroom. Do they still call that in Canada? Because it's not here anymore.
No, it's primary.
Okay, that's what I thought. Same. Anyway, my only other thing is like, how can a single fried egg cost? Oh, you might not know
Oh,
what it costs. It's
oh,
$14.
I did the math. I actually converted um all of like the house
Oh,
that David
yes.
was looking at. Okay, so the
Yes.
house he was looking at was it 16 billion won?
Yeah.
The
The first one.
so that is 11,753,304.
Yeah, makes sense. I
That's
love
a
it.
lot of money
It is a lot of money.
that he was just gonna give his black card to pay for that.
Yeah.
11 million bucks, basically 12.
I love it.
Yeah, charge it, please. Like, oh my gosh.
I love it so much. My only other thing was when David was telling Teo to pick a car and Teo picks the Rolls Royce and it's black and then Teo goes and he touches the car. It's black. You're going to get fingerprints on it. What is wrong with you? Anyway,
That is so funny.
let's move on to the last segment. You ready?
Yes.
It's the Jayo Paiting Happily Ever After, what we think happens after the episode or the show, who we are rooting for. What would you like to see here? I'm very specific here, but you go first.
I I would like, well, obviously I would like to see Anna Kim and her husband move to Korea.
Mm,
And I would like just to see the friendships unfold and see more of like their day-to-day life.
yeah. Yeah, there needs to be like when does the story start? For me though, like immediately because they cut the episode off at the second house that David and Teo were looking at, and they didn't give the exact price. They bleeped out the price and it ends the episode. That I need to know that next. I need you to look at two more places. That's what I want to happen next. So that's it. We did it. We did our first Asian. I don't know what to call this. It's not an Asian drama, but it's an Asian pop culture. It's called a variety show. So
That is amazing. Thanks for breaking script with us. Please share this episode on your socials and tag at the Breaking Script Podcast. Follow and hit the notification bell button so you never miss an episode. And if you haven't yet, please rate and review an Apple Podcast so we can spread more Hallmark glimmers with the world. See you next time.